Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family, we chose this one. This is episode 117, Total Recall from 1990. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode is brought to you by Dreamleaf, Lucid Dreams. The power of herbs. You're probably used to thinking that lucid dreaming takes months or even years to become accomplished at, but what if they told you that you could have high-level lucid dreams within just a couple of weeks, even a couple of nights? LucidDreamleaf.com.
Well, shout out Lucid Dreamleaf, and welcome to the wrap-up, essentially, of Paul Verhoeven Week. I feel like I make this, big thing, we're kicking it off, and we're wrapping up. It's just two things. It's one's the beginning and one's the end.
Things,
but
yeah.
But, we are here to talk about Total Recall after the break. But first, Joe, extracurricular activities. What have you been up to since Sunday?
You know what I wanted to tell you guys about? I had something that I want to tell you about.
Are you talking to me or are you talking to them?
I'm talking to everyone. This is a communal you.
Oh boy.
I think that you know this already, but I'm gonna pitch it here. Last night, Rachel made my favorite Rice Krispie treat recipe. Do you know about these? Have you eaten these Rice Krispie treats before?
You made them. So the first time you met Larson was at my going away party to Austin, and I think you brought these, and they were amazing. And then Larson was like, "Why haven't we been hanging out with this person forever?" And I was like, "Oh, because he lives 2.5 hours away." But I think I've had them at least once then, but I don't know beyond that. But please go on.
This is my secret to the best Rice Krispie treat recipe ever. One time, I was eating a weed edible. It was a Rice Krispie treat. And the Rice Krispie treat was excellent, and I kept eating it, but I was getting too high from even one Rice Krispie treat because, they make weed edibles too strong. So I was like, I love this so much that I need to make this without any weed things in it. What the deal is you take, here you go, 4 cups of regular Rice Krispies, 1 cup of Captain Crunch, and 1 cup of Fruity Pebbles. Mix those together, do a normal Rice Krispie treats thing, a 6-cup recipe, but do that combo. Excellent. And they're so good. I'm not giving away all of Rachel's secrets, but that's the main recipe.
I can feel the glare through the recording software.
Well, no, she was giving you guys the bonus secret, which I'm not telling you.
Oh, so she's on the side. I thought she was trying to say, don't spill all the beans, but she's saying, let's go for it.
She was giving you all the deets. I'm not giving everybody all the deets. I'm just telling you that's what you need to know for the basis, and that's it, without the secrets.
Okay.
Just saying.
Did you make those? You're eating those, or how does this factor in? What did Rachel make?
We made those and ate those.
Okay.
Rachel made those and I ate them. They're good. That's what I've been doing. I mean, nothing else. Nothing since Sunday.
So 3 days, all you've done is eat Rice Krispie treats.
No. We made them last night, but that was the highlight of what I've been doing in the past 3 days in my head.
A new show debuted last night. Not a new show, a new season of a show that we watch, which I don't think we can go into. There's no reason to go into detail about it, but we're both watching Hard Knocks.
Yeah, true.
NFL show on HBO, which, if you don't know what it is, every off-season, they highlight a team. This year, they're doing 2 teams, both Los Angeles teams, as they go through minicamp, summer games, whatever, getting ready for the NFL season. So you know the stars, you know the coaches, and then a lot of this show is really about the rookies. You develop bonds with these guys, most of whom get cut just because of the way the NFL works.
Yeah.
This year it's different, though, because of COVID, so the entire focus is on health and safety, justice and change, and Black Lives Matter. I think it's very smart, because I feel like last year, especially when they did the Raiders, because the Raiders are like, we'll let you do it, but we have final say. This is we have 2 teams, and while there's no games, there's enough action, I think, between the 2 teams, and enough this is weird, that it's a narrative that I think is... I'm already having more... I think I enjoyed more in the first episode of this season than I did in all of last year.
Well, they have more content, right? We're following 2 teams. So
that's what I'm saying. Because there's no games, they kind of built... I don't know if they did it because of that, but they have the 2 different teams. There's a lot more... there's less that they're going to cover, but there's more film coverage.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I love Hard Knocks. Even if you're not a football... Rachel doesn't care about these teams, right?
Oh, yeah.
But she was excited for Hard Knocks because it's just, it's an interesting look behind the scenes of, how an organization functions like this, right? I think it's interesting just to see how a professional sports team functions. I mean, like, it's the focus is not the upper management and stuff like that, but you see a lot of these things. Like last night, because we're watching it and COVID's happening, it's like, how are we going to set up the tables to have meetings
Yep.
and stuff like
Yeah.
this? And that's very interesting to me.
And what I love about the show is that so much of the NFL is like carefully packaged. This still is, but it feels different for this reason. But so much of the NFL is carefully packaged. Like, we
Oh
can't
yeah,
let you see behind the curtain. Like, this is America's game, and don't worry about the concussions. Like, look over here, look at the shiny glitz and
exactly.
glamour. But this is the like quote unquote uncensored raw version, which is not that because they edit it, but they allow swearing and they allow other stuff. Seeing the NFL and seeing these guys who very clearly swear all the time, like, but
Yeah.
actually swearing without being bleeped out. Like, we were talking about this tight end who like may never play it down in the NFL, who knows?
No,
But he
who
gets
knows?
cut, like, we know because they're not playing, so they're just doing like walkthroughs or whatever, and he gets cut. And he goes, "That's fucking bullshit, man."
To
And
the
like
head
to
coach.
the head coach and then to the GM, and I'm just like, I messaged you because you watched it last night. I watched it this morning, and I was just like, who does this guy think he is? And then the weird thing is that they're both like, wow, I like his fire. It's
I
like,
like
wait,
his chutzpah.
what?
Yeah, he has some grit to him. I like his enthusiasm, and we were like, I thought this kid was done. I thought that he was gone from the NFL
Yeah.
forever. Because I hate that you have all these interviews all the time, and they're so like, we're thinking of next week, and like we're planning for we play as a team, like all the bullshit cliches that they all say. And in this, they're on camera, but eventually you feel like you forget that you're on camera. So they start talking. You get more raw expressions of what they feel and what they're thinking. So
Like, it's usually 5 episodes. They usually do like one every Tuesday leading up to the season. I would
yeah.
imagine that's still the case. I don't know for sure because there's no games, like there's no mile markers anymore. So it's just like progress through the
Oh
summer,
yeah, there's no
right?
preseason either. You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
I don't know how it's gonna go, but yeah, Tuesdays on HBO or HBO Max at the same time, like you can watch it. So yeah, I highly recommend that. Even like Joe said, friend of the show, patron of the show, Melissa Lynham, likes sports, doesn't love sports, but she loves Hard Knocks, and she still says, 2 years ago they did the Browns. We were just talking about this week. Jarvis Landry just bless him every time, right? Bless him, and so she
Bless
still
'em.
says bless him. So yeah, I mean like the
Knock on wood if
stories.
you're with me.
Yeah, knock on. Oh boy,
Right?
boy, yeah, knock on wood.
On that note, I'm glad you brought that up. Things that I've been watching. You know what else I started watching? That's something that you and I both love that I forgot was on.
What's that?
Corporate.
Oh yeah, it's back.
Yeah, I know it's back. I only watched the first episode, but I think Corporate. You're 100% right. I think it's probably the best, funniest comedy sitcom out right now, and I really love it. So we watched the first episode of this season last night, and I really enjoyed it as usual. We blew through the first season of The Umbrella Academy. We're ready to start season 2. So
Cool. Yeah, Corporate's on Comedy Central. It's a workplace comedy. It's a very dark, kind of depressing at times. I think there's 4 episodes this season. I think tonight's episode 4. Episode 2 is all about suicide of season 3. Like, to the point where like they
Ugh.
even preface it by saying, we talk about suicide a lot. If you need to talk about it with someone like we did, here are numbers to call. Like, it gets really dark and heavy.
Interesting. It's always comedy though. At the bottom of it.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, this is, but it's also like this is like a different tone. It's kind of like Office Space in saying that like corporate life is terrible, but like Office Space kind of took like a,
Yes.
hey, just make lemonade out of lemons, baby. This is like, oh no, we're all going to die, and like it's not just the suicide thing. It's just
Every
like
time.
nothing we do matters. This is all pointless. Nothing. We never get credit for
But it's
anything.
great. I
It's
love
hilarious.
that.
No, it's great. I told you, like I told you about it. I think, right? Because I mean, I
Yep,
was
you
watching it
did.
from the beginning.
You did.
Yeah.
You told me about it. I think maybe in season 1, and then I turned a bunch of friends on it. We really, really enjoy it. It's definitely dark. It gets weird at some points, but the overall premise, if you watch it from like at a level that you're not related, because I feel like this is a show that you maybe can't relate to the characters.
Well, no, but you can relate to the situation. Like the characters are kind of just like they exist in this space to like make fun of corporate whatever, right?
Yeah, they've had like the emails that like everybody replies all, and they get angry about that, right?
They
Like
talk
there's
about
like all kinds of
like there's the work crush, like the one who's there, just like the person you see every day, like you just fall in love with them, even though like they're kind of gross and you don't know anything about them, but like you
Yep.
just look at them all day, every day. So this is season 3. This is the final season. They renewed it for one more season at the end of last year, so you could catch up in. If you really go hard, probably a night or a weekend or whatever. But yeah,
It's so easy to watch a bunch of.
Yeah.
And the guy from The Wire's in it. What's his name?
Lance Reddick. Yeah, Lance Reddick. He's also the hotel bellman in the John Wick series, if people know him from that.
I highly recommend it. If you guys aren't watching Corporate, you should probably start watching it because it's a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, like the two main dudes I didn't really know from anything. Their female friend,
They love Rachel, by
Aparna
the way.
Nancherla.
Every time Rachel tweets at them, like they respond to her. They're like always like, "Oh yeah, tell Joe he has good taste," and cause she's like, "Joe's all excited corporate's back, and they're like, okay, tell them we said hi or whatever.
Since we last recorded the episode I was on of High School Slumber Party came out about the Babysitter, and in cool news, they just announced so this movie came out a couple years ago. This is Samara Weaving, like a kind of a horror, campy horror Netflix babysitting movie. In the IMDb trivia, it's like the entire cast agreed to do a sequel, and like not really spoilers. I'm not going to say what happens, but like it's a horror movie. A lot of people die, right? And so we're like, how can the whole cast agree to come back if like most of them die? But literally today, as we record this, there is news that they are making a Babysitter 2, that they've made a Babysitter 2, and it comes on Netflix
already?
In a month. It's coming out on September 10th.
You guys nailed the timing on that.
I was like,
Holy
Brian,
fuck.
rearrange your September because we're doing this movie. Because it's a movie that I'm going to watch because I love Samara Weaving. I love the first one, but
yeah, dude, you guys nailed it. We I mean, behind the curtain, we try to like line up stuff to come out with new movies if we can, right? So like for you guys to hit this so hard, that's awesome.
All
Good
luck.
for
So
guys.
yeah, so listen to our first episode. Watch the movie. It's like 85 minutes. It's a lot of fun. Listen to our episode. It was a lot of fun. And then I guess get ready for in a month. Joe, we have a Patreon page on the show, toofast2forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellen, and Justin Kleinman, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, Haley Gerbies, Wes Hampton, Christian Larson, and Jerry Robinson for supporting us at the $5 level or above. Thank you all so very much.
By the way, we didn't talk about it yet, but can we talk about what Ben did yesterday that I sent you a picture of?
So Ben is getting a tattoo
of his... my mind.
Is he getting a tattoo of his daughter's name, right?
That we know about.
It's not Lenny's name. It's his daughter, right? Yeah. And so he...
Was it Lila?
Lila. He mapped out on his arm where he's going to get him. Like, it's this beautiful, like, script. I think there's, like, flowers and everything. I honestly didn't look at the tattoo so closely because he's like, and just for fun on my other arm. And he took our Too Fast, Too Forever logo and like made a temporary tattoo, like an outline of that, and I'm like,
mind blown.
Wait, what? He's not getting it, but I think it's really funny, especially now as we're collectively dunking on you for like not wanting a tattoo, and now we have a listener who's, again, temporary, but like more of a tattoo than we even have.
It was awesome. It blew my mind. I was so shocked and just heartwarmed by it. I just wanted to give Ben a huge shout out for that because it really made my night last night. I showed Rachel. We were just like in shock. We were like, this is really cool. Even as a temporary tattoo, it was awesome, and I appreciate all the love. So thank you, Ben.
Yeah, he tagged us on it. He put it on Instagram too, and he tagged us in that, and so I liked it over there. But yeah, Lila, awesome. It's her name, and there's like flowers, and it's kind of like on a vine. And then there's the Too Fast, Too Forever one.
I know.
It's crazy.
It's awesome. It looked good, too, man. I was cracking up. And then, like, today, Justin saw it and Jason saw it. And everybody, like, all of us were like, whoa.
Yeah.
All at the same time.
Oh, boy. We've also got an email address here on the show, family@cageclub.me. And, Joe, we have one email tonight from Mr. Wes Hampton. Subject line, dude, where's my car?
What up, Wes?
So if you'll remember, in a previous email, he wrote in about how much he hated this movie, hated watching it in theaters, did not want to see it, did not enjoy himself. So let's see what he's got to say.
With his brother.
Yeah.
He told us, yeah.
What up, fam? Listening to your Dude, Where's My Car episode did not make me rethink my feelings in the movie. It actually made me angry for no reason. I also guess the movie
not us,
was...
hopefully.
I don't know. I also guess the movie was much more adult than I remember because I only saw it once in theaters when I took my brother. And I remember thinking it was geared toward a younger audience, but maybe that was just the level of comedy. It says, when you mentioned Jake Gyllenhaal and Bubble Boy, that's really more the vibe I remember the movie having, except Bubble Boy is a way better movie. Anyway, enough about that. Here are some quick notes. Umbrella Academy is so good. It's one of our TV night shows with our friends. We watched season 1 right when it was released. We're in the middle of 2 shows right now, so we won't get to season 2 for a few more weeks. As for the Gerard Way connection, he created it. The show is based on this comic series from 2007. I'm sure he's probably heavily involved in the show as well, but I don't know to what extent.
I thought that he was just doing the music for it. I didn't know that he created it as well, but he's like writer of the comics, and I finally saw that in the introduction. Yeah, and I was like, Rachel, we need to read these. Actually, I meant to ask Nico and Kevo about them if they've read it.
I love the idea of the Lone Gunman show, and I watched it all, but I don't remember a single second of it. It was always a good time when they showed up in the X-Files, though. And that's what I was talking about with the blind football team, blind baseball team. Brian mentioned Beavers and Butthead Do America, which I haven't thought about in years, but believe it or not, I actually really liked that movie. I taped it from HBO or something when I was in junior high and watched it a lot, even though I didn't like the show. I don't know why I even watched the movie in the first place. I wasn't friends with other Beavers and Butthead fans. I don't think I ever watched it with anyone or talked to anyone about it. I just liked it. I don't even remember it that well. I'm sure it doesn't hold up, but I have a nostalgic attachment to it for whatever weird reason. Well, I think we mentioned on the podcast that if you want to relive it, Brian covered it on his show with Autumn and Dan Ferrara. So if you want to remember it.
One of my favorite things was the Beavis and Butthead Do America guide.
Okay.
And this was something that do you remember this?
No.
Did you have this?
Nope.
So they made a Beavis and Butthead Do America guide, and it was just like a bunch of like satire paragraphs about states. This was incredible to me, and I had one as a kid because I loved the movie like when it came out. Recently, like not recently, like within the past like decade, I rebought the book because I couldn't find my original, and it's also still awesome. So if you like Beavis and Butthead Do America, the guide you can buy on Amazon, and it's awesome.
Very cool. Wes just says that's it for this episode. Until next time, stay furious, Wes.
Stay furious, Wes.
Well, thank you, Wes. And if you want to write in, family@cageclub.me.
If you're the person that tagged us in a tweet that recommended us that we don't know who you are, please send us an email or let us follow you.
Yeah.
Right? We just talked about that with Nico and Kevo. Well, you'll hear later. But
next episode.
Yeah.
Joe, on the streets, Fast and Furious news. Is there anything that you have seen, any clickbait or otherwise, real news or otherwise, that we have caught wind of since we last spoke?
Yeah, I have one. Hold on, let me try to find it.
While you find that, The Rock was just named 2020's highest paid actor, and he doesn't even have a movie coming out this year. He's just making money every other which way. That's why he can afford to buy the XFL, because he's loaded.
Very, very true.
But he also is genuinely the hardest working man in Hollywood, from what I can tell, from what I hear, and so he deserves it. So I appreciate that. I am happy with that news.
Matt sent a link, as we were talking about, we have a ton of clickbait stuff coming up. So Road and Track did an article today about the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift and Sean's Monte Carlo from the beginning of Tokyo Drift. It's pretty much just an article talking about the new Craig Lieberman video, talking about the Monte Carlo, all the shit that it had in it, like the one that beats the Dodge Viper in the beginning.
Yeah.
So Craig Lieberman released a new video, and Road and Track was all excited about it. So
suck it, Home Improvement.
Exactly.
No news on Rock the Vote. The Rock still not running for president, unfortunately. Kamala Harris now the official VP candidate for Joe Biden, but The Rock nowhere to be seen. So weird, but next time, 2024.
What if Joe Biden would have picked The Rock as his vice president?
I don't think that would happen for many different reasons, specifically political party and also superior. I don't know, but I would love it. I mean,
it would have been awesome, right?
I'm voting for Biden either way. It just would have been even better to vote for Biden with The Rock. Biden Johnson 2020, hell yeah.
Yeah, you know what? He has a great presidential name too, by the way, that we haven't talked about.
President Johnson?
Dwayne Johnson is a good presidential name.
We've already had President Johnson.
We've already had one. That's what I'm saying. It's a good name.
Yeah.
My high school history teacher used to tell us that there's 3 things to win the presidency.
You've talked about this before. Yep.
Height, optimism.
Yep.
And The Rock doesn't have the hair, but he has the height and he has the optimism.
Yeah, you've talked about this specifically in that context before. We just never looked around the name. Yeah, but about the hair, I think you said probably verbatim, he doesn't have the hair, but he has the height and optimism. Like almost verbatim.
Fair.
Joe, the Ana Lucia Cortez Leticia Ortiz Lost for a Minute Season 2 episode Abandoned. Big episode.
Why is it a big episode?
Shannon dies?
Does she?
Yes.
When? Did I miss that part?
The end? Letty shoots her.
Oh, I totally missed that part. Sorry.
It's the last minute of the episode.
Dude.
Oh my god. What the fuck, man?
My notes for this episode are 1, I totally forgot Shannon existed. I totally forgot she was on the island because we haven't seen her and Saeed for fucking 4 episodes now. Okay, so she gets shot by Letty at the end?
You need to...
I watched it today.
So the episode, they make their way across the island.
Tell me what happened.
So Saeed and Shannon spend the entire episode banging it out on the beach, right? They're just in a tent.
Making out. I know. I'm so sick of this fucking love story. Good. I'm glad Shannon died then. That's great.
Why are you sick of the love story?
Because Saeed's too smart to deal with how dumb Shannon is what makes me frustrated about this.
So what I found out from the IMDb trivia was that it was Naveen Andrews' idea. Naveen Andrews plays Saeed for his character to have a relationship with Shannon as he knew it would have an extreme reaction in Middle America. So I like that he's basically just trolling Republicans, just like, hey, look at me, I'm a brown guy dating, Miss America, basically.
That's fair. I don't have a problem with how they look. I have a problem that Shannon's character is so fucking useless, and Saeed is so awesome at everything. He couldn't put up with her. They're like, I don't think this match works because she's so helpless.
Well, I think, so there's a couple different things at play here. Number one, there's not a ton of single ladies on the island.
Very fair.
Charlie and Claire have kind of partnered off. We see that in this episode. Jack and Kate have, for better or worse, kind of partnered off. Sun and Jin have their thing. Rose and Bernard have their thing. And
Yep.
that's kind of all the main women, right? Like, there's
But we
other...
have other women on the island. We couldn't have made like
They're not others, but they're others. Like, they're not main like, we don't
yeah.
know their names. And so, like, Saeed joins the ranks of, like, Hurley, who doesn't have a partner. Or, you have Shannon, who, like, has the arc of being there with Boone, and then Boone does his thing, and then she decodes the map. What are you gonna do?
No, I get it. I get it, but I'm saying like I just don't personally like it. I don't think it works. They're in a survival situation. Saeed's badass at surviving, and then Shannon's just fucking useless. Why would they ever match up? I mean, like I get it that like that's fine. Like I have no problems with them looking different. That doesn't bother me. It's just that like there's no way this guy that was in the fucking Secret Service.
The Republican Guard.
Yes, there's no way that he's like, oh yeah, like she's like, help me, I can't do anything, and like he'd be like, that's the one for me.
Shannon's role on the island, and Shannon's death was apparently planned all season because they knew that this was going to be the thing that brought the two halves of the island together in the most uncomfortable way possible. So her death serves a greater purpose, which we will find out in
Okay,
coming episodes. Also by the fact
okay,
that Letty just fucking shoots her,
badass,
but
good for her.
not really. So Shannon's character on the show, Maggie Grace's character, Shannon on the show, is always, like, both in the flashbacks and on the island, uses her looks to get what she wants, right? Just like,
Yeah,
hey, I'm beautiful, take care of me. I get that, maybe after a certain period, like, it kind of wears off, but I do think that, like, behind that, and I think what we see in the flashbacks here, that she is a person, that she wants to be more in whatever ways that are kind of cast aside just because there's other bigger, more important things going on the island. Saeed provides that for her. That he is able to kind of unlock who she really is, and I can see
he
that,
does
like,
see
she
her as a
grows.
person. He treats her like she's a real person and not useless, which is great. But that just makes him look better and her look more useless.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think they're finding, again, you're halfway around the world on an island. You just survived the plane crash. The fact that you're able to find any kind of human connection, like, Godspeed.
You're not factoring in the fact that we saw Saeed's like one true love that he was like chasing in like the two flashback episodes that we saw, and she was like badass, right? Like she was like leading the rebellion and like this like really cool chick. Shannon just seems like she's your work crush, just like we were talking about in corporate. Like you just see her every day, and I get that the actress is beautiful, but like the character's like, come on, man, like really?
I think on the surface it's a weird partner because you're right that he is so competent and he is so
Yes.
survival and so techy and whatever, and she has not really demonstrated that. But I do think that, like, beyond that, there is more to it. We also learn in the flashbacks that her dad died in a car accident. That Jack let her dad die to save his future wife.
Yes.
Did you see that part?
No.
Cool. Did you
No,
watch
I
this
watched this.
episode?
Yes, I did. I watched this episode, but I don't know what I missed. That like I don't know. My brain maybe wasn't in the right place or something.
Was this before the computer melted down, or is this after the computer melted down?
Before I was like totally fine this afternoon, and I watched it fully. I don't know how I was missing shit. No, I was just sucked into like she was trying to follow Walt, and like I was watching how they're trying to get back. And like I was so disgruntled with like seeing Saeed and Shannon again, and him being like, "Oh, you're so wonderful," and she's not. And like maybe I was just flustered by that.
So in the flashback a couple episodes ago, when Jack decides to save, he doesn't know that's going to be his future wife, but he decides to, like, let the old man die. We're going to save this younger
Okay.
woman. In this episode, we find out that the guy who died in that car crash was Shannon's dad. That we see Jack in the background of this episode. We hear it all happen. It's the same car crash. So again, interconnectedness of all things. Even before they got to the island, they were all tied together. So, like, it's a whole Shannon death and rebirth and new life and ending and whatever, both on the island and in the flashback.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's cool though.
So let's talk about Letty. So what do you got Letty-wise this episode?
I liked when she yelled at him, "I am not lost," because she's like leading them like through the jungle, but she's not the tracker. She's not Mr. Echo. Sawyer's keeps making fun of her, like, bro, like you don't know where the fuck we're going, and she's like, "I am not lost." And I was like, oh, well, that's a very Fast and Furious thing. She was just like very confident in her ability to be lost. Sawyer's almost dying, so he obviously needs to get back to Jack. So they build him like this like sling that they're carrying. They're like a hammock that they're carrying him in. That was the main Letty things, but her shooting Shannon, holy shit, that's huge. That probably would have been really great to notice, right?
One of the important parts in the episode is that she describes kind of, and the next episode is the big one that I've been talking to, but she kind of gives like a thumbnail sketch of like what's happened. So she says on the first night that they were there, the others took 3 of them. They started with 23.
Yes.
The others took 3 of them. Then 2 weeks later, they took 9 more, which would leave about 11. Then we also see Goodwin, who died last episode, I think, or not died, but we saw his body last episode. There's a woman, Cindy, who gets taken. I'm like, I don't remember who Cindy is because it doesn't matter because she gets taken in this episode. So there's basically Mr. Echo, there's Letty, not Letty, Ana Lucia, there's Libby.
Is Libby the blonde
Libby's
woman?
the blonde woman, and then there's Bernard, and there's probably a couple extras. But like, there's basically the core 4. But even really, it's mostly still Mr. Echo and Ana Lucia.
I was really happy to know that because I wanted to know why these other people disappeared. I was rooting for cannibalism the whole time.
You will find out next episode is called The Other 48 Days, which you could probably intuit what that's about.
I was praying for cannibalism. I was hoping that they were just eating all the other people. And I was like, oh, that would be hilarious because they're on this island with all this fucking food the other ones have. Right? Like, if you just, like, looked for fruit, they were all eating fruit and shit the whole time. You know, well, so they had somebody to hunt boars, right? But that's different. Oh, is it, like, polar bears that are killing them? Others? Are they, like, eating them? I was hoping for eating, but we find out that the others just, like, take them.
Yep.
So
That'll be next episode. We find out more details. I don't remember exactly what we learn. There isn't a flashback here before we get to the end, before we get to the gunshot. Shannon in a flashback says, I'm going to figure out a way to make my own money. And I was thinking, I can pay for my own shrimp.
that's true.
Real Brian
That's true.
moment.
And then Shannon runs into the forest because she sees an image of Walt.
She keeps seeing Walt. She saw Walt last episode, I think. She sees Walt again today. He's dripping wet, just like kind of talking backwards, just whispering, whatever. So she chases him into the rain, and I knew what was coming. I was like, oh boy, this is going to be bad. Saeed also sees Walt, so whether it's a shared vision or actually Walt. We hear a gunshot. We see Shannon bleeding there, Saeed cradling. We cut, and we have Letty with the gun. And behind her are the people we know. And that's how the episode ends. So it is... I need you to watch the last, 2 minutes. Literally 2 minutes. The most important...
I'll rewatch it. Maybe I fell asleep or something.
I mean, did you hear a gunshot or no?
I feel like I heard a gunshot. Rachel didn't bring up how important it was. She usually, reminds me, Shannon got shot or something like that. You know what I mean? Did you see that? And I'd be like, no, I didn't see that. I was awake. Yeah, she says I was awake, and I saw it. So
It's not only important that a main character, not a main character, but a main character dies. It's not only important that it's how the two groups meet, but it's important because the reason we're watching the show is the inciting incident that it's Letty who shoots.
Yeah.
So we might have a Letty episode in total, but next episode is the big this is how we find out what happened to the tailies from the time they crashed until now.
Cool.
That's going to be next episode. But any other thoughts about Abandoned?
I wasn't trying to not pay attention. I watched it. I just didn't catch the end there. I don't know what happened.
I thought you were kind of joking at first. You're like, oh, it's not a big episode. I'm like, a character is murdered by the woman we're watching this for.
No, I totally missed it. This is how my brain works sometimes. It's the whole dragging it out shit, bro. If you would let me binge it, I would catch all this stuff.
Is
but
it
no, we have to
that,
do it
or
one
is
at
it
a
that
time.
you're on your phone?
No, I was laying there. I don't think that I was on my phone even. Okay, Rachel says yes. That's what was happening. I wasn't trying to.
All right, Joe, the final thing to do before we take a break and talk about Total Recall is the Fast and the Furious minute 80. A minute I realized just now that I did not name. Do you have any ideas for a name for this minute?
I was thinking maybe without Jesse or on a beach in Mexico.
Well, so that I have. So I don't want to do that one because my trivia question, as it stands right now, is what dream does Dom describe to Letty? Which I think is...
That's a good question. Yep, you're right.
Because I thought I think that is the noteworthy thing in this minute.
Other than Jesse's not there, which is very apparent. Without Jesse would be a good
All right,
one.
without Jesse.
All right, we're one man short. Letty, I need you on the left side.
Your sister's right about this one. This don't feel good.
Don't do that.
Something's wrong.
Stop.
We shouldn't be doing this without Jesse.
Look, this is the mother lode. We've been on this for 3 months. After this, it's a long vacation for everyone. Let's go.
Hope so.
Listen, the other night I had a dream. You and I were on a beach in Mexico.
Really?
Really? Come on, let's make this happen.
So in this minute, Dom and the team park their cars at that mystery building and uncover their Honda Civics. Leon expresses concern and hesitation about the job. Dom gives everyone a mini pep talk. Then Dom describes a dream to Letty, one of them happy on a Mexican beach. So this is basically like heist prep where Vince opens his Civic's trunk, tosses Dom a bag of gear. Leon and Letty
Yeah.
each hand Dom a harpoon that he puts in the same car, so I guess he's got like 2 of them.
He needs 2 of them, yeah.
And then Vince removes a motorcycle helmet and a safety harness from his trunk or from the bag or whatever, and he starts getting ready for the heist itself.
Does it not look like Vince is the only one that's properly dressed for a heist in this minute?
Well, he's the only one who kind of has to be, right? Because he's the one who's actually doing it. Everybody else is just driving.
Yeah, you want to be just comfortable driving. He's the one who has to like jump into the truck. So he needs like, because he has like long pants on and like a shirt that has sleeves.
We see him rigging the harness that he can use to like latch on and climb on or whatever. And he's got the motorcycle helmet to protect himself and protect his identity. Leon and Letty and Dom are all just driving the car, and so it doesn't really matter what they're wearing. They're just doing their thing, right? So
As someone who like preps for, not like I'm a prepper or anything, but like as someone that like manages things, I'll be like, everybody needs to be in fucking full gear in case shit breaks bad. Everybody should have long pants on, fully sleeved shirt. Like we should be ready in case, other people need to step in.
But like what
change.
what could go bad? Like so obviously things do go bad because Vince gets caught and whatever. They're all in separate cars. Like they're in 3 cars, right? So it's not like they can really like they all have to be driving. They can't not be driving. So like what could go wrong that they would have to be prepared for? I'm just trying to wonder.
No, you're doing good. I like it. You're playing devil's advocate here.
Because I mean I think that like it is weird that like just Dom is in his Dom look or just like white undershirt and jeans or whatever. But like I don't know what he would actually need to be prepped for, other than maybe like a helmet to protect his identity. But like, because if he's alone in a car after Vince gets out or whatever, like unless he pulls over, but then if he pulls over, then somebody else. It's a weird as weird as it looks. I think it I don't know that there's more prep actually to be done.
It's like the whole strategy that like you need to be prepared to do every man's job. I see a situation here where like maybe they would have bailed if this is the mother load. This is their last job. Don't you have a situation in mind where you're like, okay, maybe we need Letty to be the one that jumps on the truck? Or maybe we need Leon to be the one that jumps on the truck. Like, you guys all need to be prepared. Like, the only one who can get away with this is, like, Dom because he's the quarterback. But, like, everybody else should be prepared to know everybody else's job in this role as well.
I feel like to that point, it goes to what they're talking about, that normally they would have Jesse, that they would have another body, that if things went wrong with Vince, then Letty could do it, and maybe she needs to get prepped. But, like, because they're essentially down a man, they can't really, there's no flexibility. Like, it's just like, I don't know, they never explicitly say this, but, like, if Vince fails, we fail.
Yeah.
The opening heist, right? Like if Vince fails, then Letty gets out of the car and Jesse keeps driving or whatever, and Letty saves Vince or gets the heist or whatever, right? Like there's a plan B, but here there is only one plan because Jesse's off. He's hiding. He's scared, right? And I guess he's gone radio silent.
And also, why is Jesse radio silent to them?
I feel like he's just all screwed up.
He is. He definitely has some struggles. That's for sure. You don't think he would have like called or texted one of them? I need to deal with this. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not coming back, or something. Like, I'm okay.
We don't know that didn't happen. They're just saying we shouldn't do this without Jesse. It doesn't feel right. But like, he might have been like, guys, I need to lay low for like a week. Like, I just like, hopefully this Johnny Tran thing blows over. I really can't lose my dad's car. Like, I know we had the heist, but like, I really can't.
That's fair.
It's not like saying well, we're missing Jesse. It's just like we're missing Jesse because like he's just not here. But
yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point.
Because there is the urgency, right? Because Dom says, look, this is the mother load. We've been on this for 3 months. After this, it's a long vacation for everyone. Let's go. So, like, they've been planning for this. It's just unfortunate that Jesse lost his car and kind of lost his mind and, like, worried about his dad the week this happens.
Yeah.
Although it does kind of feel like, in the Point Break of it all, Brian should be in on this.
He should. They should bring him in. Well, I mean, we obviously know that he does get brought in on this because he's with Mia right now chasing them down. But yeah, he's not involved in the heisting of it.
Well, he's only in on it because he knows it's going down. He doesn't know really it's going down because of Dom. Like, Dom has not brought this up to him. Because, like, if Dom brought this up to him, he would be there. Like, he would have talked his way onto the team, I think, right?
Yeah, but he hasn't told him. You're right. All he told him was that we have race wars. The note that he passed him said,
I robbed semis, just like Wells said.
I robbed semis, like Wells said. Yeah, exactly.
That is the story, right? Because, like, at Neptune's Net, Brian says, I want in on whatever. I know that the Food Shack, I know that Food Shack and, racing or whatever isn't paying the bills. What do you have going on? I want in. And then Dom's like, okay, here you go. Well, I'll show you. And then it's Race Wars. But, like, we don't know the financials of Race Wars. We don't know, like, how that's doing it.
We
but,
don't
like,
know any of that.
Brian knows because he's been tasked to do this. But still Dom has not spilled the beans. I wonder at what point he would. It feels like he should have by now.
Yeah.
Maybe if they don't leave from Race Wars immediately, maybe the next time, because Brian would ask again, right? Like, if we don't go from Race Wars to this heist, and then Brian's like, I get that, like, that's cool, but, like, there's got to be something more, right?
I think that what we were picking up on in the dialogue is that they've been planning for this for 3 months, so they don't want to bring somebody new into the mix immediately and, like, have them prep, where they're like, we can deal without Jesse, but we don't want to have to, like, bring someone new in. We don't have to train someone on, like, such a short notice, right?
I think that's the smart thing, but I also think that's, like, a weirdly not a movie thing to do. Like, it feels like in a movie, people would be like, all right, like, we're under the gun, or maybe that's the thing that people do in real, I don't know, but, like, it feels like in movies, they're like, oh, shit, like, you know, the plan's messed up, we gotta bring somebody in, and that's when it goes bad. But, like, here it goes bad because they don't do that, which feels like almost directly unmovie-ish in a way. It's like, this is not what happens normally. Like, they normally would bring somebody in and either he's a cop or he messes things up, but here it's just like, we can go on as planned, which I don't think normally happens.
No, you're right. I like that. Yeah. They should have put just Brian in Jesse's place and been like, Brian, you run as Jesse, and like, Brian's a cop now involved, and he's like, okay, and arrests all of them, or just tells the cops that they're there, and everything, like, ends there, but it's not as much fun.
The Hijacking Part 2 is the song by BT, of course, from the score, that continues, like, it very, very barely started last minute, and the future Fastnections, which ties into the trivia question, Dom and Letty will have time together on a beach, just not in this movie. They're on a beach at least at the end of 7, when they're saying goodbye to Brian.
They're on a beach in 4. We just saw them.
Yeah, at the beginning, right? Yeah, so...
Yep.
So the trivia question I have here is, what dream does Dom describe to Letty? And the answer is just of them on the beach, on a beach in Mexico.
Yeah. How about a long vacation?
A long vacation.
He says it, but that's not the dream that he describes. Them having a baby that they name Brian.
Having a baby they name Brian. Driving on a highway that never ends.
Oh, that's good. What about he doesn't remember? He describes a dream that he doesn't remember to Letty. Like, what was your dream? He's like, I don't remember. Can we have a 5th answer? Is that okay?
Yeah. What dream does Dom describe to Letty? A long vacation, driving on a highway that never ends, having a baby that they name Brian, of them on a beach in Mexico, or I should say them on a beach in Mexico, one he doesn't remember.
I think that's so good for the Letty minute.
Oh, right? I also do want to say we added another trivia question because as I was editing the last of the last episode, I was like, there's such an obvious question that we did not ask, that we did not include. Outside of which town does the family stash their Honda Civics, which is Thermal? So we have Coachella, Palm Springs, Paloma, and Thermal. Like, we were so, I think, caught up. Like, I was so caught up in the next tell of it all that, like, there's also a very specific but also very fair question that they mentioned, like, you know, they set you outside somewhere outside Thermal, and we're just like, oh, like, neither of us even, like, thought, like...
No! Not at all. And I looked up Thermal. I was Googling Thermal, trying to find a fucking water reservoir near Thermal, but no.
We probably said Thermal 20 times last episode, and yet...
We did.
Never even thought about it.
That was a great question.
So now we have 80 minutes, 90 questions. We are getting there, we're getting there. If you're a patron, toofast2forever.com, still the pinned post.
I need to go take the quiz again, for sure. Maybe after we finish recording this, I'm going to go take it.
Maybe. With that in mind, anything else that you want to say, any other thoughts about this, or should we take a break and talk about Total Recall?
I wanted to say that when they pull up to the Honda Civics, they all have sunroofs, and I'm very confused why they all have sunroofs, because, like, that's, like, a decent option. If you're trying to buy, like, shitty cars that you know that you probably are going to wreck, you have to get rid of, like, why would you have sunroofs? And then I thought about it, and I was like, oh, maybe just in case you have to, like, you know, shoot out the sunroof, or climb out the sunroof, or jump into the sunroof. Maybe sunroof was an important option in their Honda Civics that they're buying to rob semis with.
I guess, because they got a Meerkat out, right? So
that's what I'm thinking. So, like, I was like, oh, if you were looking at a car that you're like, this is disposable, and you're like, but it has a sunroof, you'd be like, it doesn't fucking matter. But, like, if you're gonna do, you know, semi-robberies, maybe it does matter. Because they all have sunroofs in that row right there. So that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Well, Joe, let's take a break, and let's talk about Total Recall as we wrap up Paul Verhoeven Week.
episode 117, Total Recall. This episode is brought to you by Dreamleaf, Lucid Dreaming Supplement 30-Night Supply. Dreamleaf is the most advanced lucid dreaming supplement on the planet, recently featured on CBS daytime TV show The Doctors, and is specifically formulated to do 4 things: induce lucid dreaming, enhance dream recall, promote balanced sleep, and create longer dreams. Shout out to dreamleaf.com.
Well, thank you, Dreamleaf, for sponsoring this episode, Total Recall. So now, Joe, this is the second Paul Verhoeven movie in a row. You had not seen this one either, is that correct?
No, but somehow in my weird brain, I didn't say this last episode, but I had thought that Arnold Schwarzenegger was RoboCop.
He was originally going to play the title role in RoboCop, but problems with the costume caused producers to drop the idea.
Okay, so I think I knew that story then.
Well, we talked about very briefly, like, there were a couple, I didn't mention him by name, but there were other people that, like, the suit was just, like, too weird and clunky and heavy and whatever, and just a lot of actors kind of got chased away from the actual constraints of the suit. Like, I think I mentioned, but I think I cut it out, like, Rutger Hauer of Blade Runner, or maybe I left it in, I don't remember, but he was going to play, there were a lot of people who, like, kind of were around the part but didn't. But then after Schwarzenegger saw RoboCop, he said he loved the movie and wanted to work with Verhoeven, and when he and Verhoeven heard about Total Recall, they decided to work on this. Apparently Verhoeven had always wanted to work with Schwarzenegger, because who wouldn't? If you make these kind of movies, why wouldn't you want to work with Arnold? Of course.
Exactly.
Arnold sent Verhoeven the script, and Verhoeven loved it but wanted to make some changes, and he wanted to make it more scientific. Arnold apparently liked how he balanced, like, mind games and action, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And the weird connections, not really necessarily weird connections. Ronnie Cox plays the main villain in both movies. I don't know if you realize that, but the Cohagen in this movie is the same guy as, like, the president of the company in the last movie.
Oh, no, I didn't realize. I mean, old white guy, so yeah.
Sure.
But,
But also, similarly, I was like, so Michael Ironside, who plays, like, just how last time we had read from That 70s Show.
I know.
As, like, kind of the, not the main bad guy, but, like, the guy that spends the most time, right? So we have Michael Ironside here, and I was like, he kind of looks like Red, and I found out that Kurtwood Smith was going to play Red, but he turned it down because he thought it was too similar. But Verhoeven's like, hey, I'm just going to get another balding guy, you know, in his, like, 40s or whatever, just to, like, basically the same kind of character.
And, you know who else is in this movie?
Who is that?
He was an alien, so you probably didn't recognize his face.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Asac Schrader himself.
Yeah, Dean Norris.
Yeah, he was in this
I didn't think
movie.
you were going to recognize him. How'd you recognize him? Or did you look him up?
I didn't. Rachel told me it was him. I recognize his voice, but only after Rachel told me it was him.
Oh yeah, no. As soon as, like, I forgot that he was in this, and I heard the voice, because I'm actually, not to brag, I'm very good at voices. I am not good at faces at all. Hair, again, we talked about hair blindness. I cannot recognize when hair changes. But the voice, as soon as he spoke, I was like, oh yeah. And so I confirmed, but I was like, yeah, that's exactly him, because I thought that he's in the one scene, and then he comes back later a couple times or whatever, but...
Yes.
I was very excited.
But I was like,
to see that.
dude, we had That 70s Show and Breaking Bad.
Is there a connection between those two, or just TV shows?
Just TV shows that I like.
Okay.
I mean, well, I don't like the one, but I like one TV show of the two. I just
that
thought
is
it was
very tenuous. It's very cool we got these two TV shows back to back. Well, other than they're both TV shows, there's nothing in common. But yeah, okay.
No, I mean, there were TV shows that were on much later than these movies came out.
Sure, okay.
These were still actors in a TV show after they had done 2 movies with Paul Verhoeven. I thought that was pretty cool.
What did you think of Total Recall? Before we talk about what it's about, what did you think of this movie?
Fucking awesome! This is a great movie. Yeah, incredible. Yep. I want to talk to you about, like, what your perception of the end is. And don't give me a bullshit. There is no. It's up to you, the viewer, to understand.
Well, that's basically what the director said. Paul Verhoeven has said that that he made it ambiguous on purpose because he made it ambiguous because he wanted whatever. While he believes it's a dream, the director thinks it's all a dream.
Okay.
He thinks that people who see an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie see the hero win and think that's reality and not a dream. But at the end, when it, like, fades to white, they're thinking that might be the lobotomy, that they're at the end they get their memories wiped or just their brains cut open or into or whatever.
I don't even think it's that. I think that he was just getting the implant, and that was, like, his first run through of the memory, and, like, the white is, like, him waking up.
So you think the whole, like, him as a special agent is the entire, like, last hour and a half of the movie? The vacation he pays for is what most of the movie?
Yes, I think he goes under. He has a memory of him waking up, but it's not real. And then he's still under. He gets the memory implant. That was just, like, the implantation of the memory. And then at the end, when it goes white, he, like, actually wakes up and he was like, that was the vacation that I paid for.
Because Verhoeven has said that the first 20 minutes, which I guess is getting to the chair, like getting to Recall.
Yeah.
He said that's real. Like, that's definitively, that's happened. But he, I think, has said that the rest of the movie, the last hour and a half, is a dream. So it sounds like you kind of agree with the director.
I agree.
I
Yeah.
also don't know that it matters. Like I honestly kind of don't care. Like I think it's weird because
No,
like there's
I don't care.
there's
Yeah.
dreams within the dream, and there's like the guy's like, oh no, like we're you're under right now, and I'm just a manifestation, and he sees the guy sweating, so he shoots him or whatever. Like he knows that it's not real or whatever. So
Yes.
what's cool, and I think this is kind of what Arnold was talking about, that like if you want to analyze this as like a piece of art, you can, or if you just want to see a movie where like there's a
It's
woman with two breasts
badass,
and
yeah.
like just like shooting people up and like just ragdoll with bullet holes, like it's that too. So like whether you want to dive in deeper or not,
This is what I loved about it. I really like the dichotomy of that. That made me super happy. That you can watch it and be like, oh, is this Inception-y?
Mm-hmm.
Is he really in a dream? Was that real? What wasn't real? What is real? And also, it's a badass action movie with a woman with 3 boobs. So that's great. I agree with you. You don't even have to think that hard on it if you don't want to. It's just both. It exists as both, and that's awesome.
So this movie, if you've not seen Total Recall yet, I think it's on Netflix. So I think you can watch it on Netflix.
Okay.
It's in the year 2084, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is, I think, a construction worker.
Yes.
And he is married to Sharon Stone. Based on her performance in this movie, would get cast in Verhoeven's movie 2 years later in Basic Instinct, because he liked that she was able to change
Dude.
like on a dime from being a timid, charming sweetheart
Yep.
to a diabolical person and
Yep.
back again. And he also said, which is kind of weird, that that's how she is in real life too, which is like, maybe don't say that. Like that seems like a kind of an insult, but
Well,
maybe not. I don't know.
You just made me have a bigger crush on Sharon Stone because she is my kind of crazy.
Do you know she has 154 IQ?
I believe it. She's scary.
Well, do you know anything about her in real? Because I don't know anything about her in real life. You just basing this on her characters, or what?
You can see so deeply into her real life through her characters. Nobody can play this like weird switch, flip, sweetheart, crazy, also like stabbing, and it's too real. It's way too real for me. Like she has to be a genius in real life. There's
She
no
was
other
in a
way.
series. She was in an HBO series that came out a couple years ago called Mosaic that Steven Soderbergh directed, and it was a weird thing where they eventually aired it narratively, start to finish. But it was first created as an app, and you could like do the story non-linearly. And I think if I remember right, she's murdered like early on, but like she's the best part of that series, and she is basically narratively like I think the whole show is about like trying to figure out who killed her. Like it's not a spoiler. Like I think that's like
Okay.
what the show is about.
Okay.
She's only in like an episode and a half of the 6 episodes. I'm like, why cast her and then like take her away? Like it feels rude in a way. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, she's wonderful.
And in between this and Basic Instinct, I was like, oh my god, she is great. Like,
Well, they're both Verhoeven. They're both
Yeah,
his
exactly.
movies. And also, I mentioned last time a couple other movies that he had done. Like in addition to those, he did Starship Troopers. He did.
which is funny because Brian and Larson have been ragging on me for like the past 2 days that I haven't seen Starship Troopers yet. So that's on my to-do list for sure.
Wait, how did Larson find out? Because of
Because
the episode.
Brian was telling him that.
Oh, okay. As I was editing it, I pulled it out and I was like, "Well, you didn't do your homework." I was like, "Have you seen Starship Troopers?" He
Oh,
said,
that's
no. I
right,
was like,
that's
"You didn't
right,
do your
that's
homework."
right.
So I pulled that out,
Okay.
sends it to Brian. So I guess Brian then told Larson. I don't know.
Yes. That's what happened.
Anyway, but Verhoeven also directed Showgirls. He also directed Hollow Man with Kevin Bacon, and he directed a movie that came out a couple years ago that I saw at Fantastic Fest called Elle, which stars Isabelle Huppert, which is a psychotic. Oh, man, it's wonderful. Like he just makes crazy, good, weird, hyper pulpy,
Dude.
hyper violent, hyper sexual movies.
I miss this time in filmmaking because there's no CGI. Like, you know what I mean? Like, or like very little.
So this is considered kind of like one of the final movies that didn't really use CGI.
I know, it feels so nice.
In a way, one of the first movies to use CGI in like the X-ray scanner. Like it was the first to use that kind of thing, but the last one to kind of use like miniatures and like practical effects and stuff like that. So there's actually a line in this movie that someone says "clever girl." I think
Yes.
Arnold says "clever girl," and
He
like
does.
3 years later, we got Jurassic Park saying
Yep.
"clever girl," right?
Yep,
But like
yep.
Jurassic Park is always my like tent pole of like, okay, 1993 means like you can do legitimate CGI, like look at the dinosaurs, right?
Exactly.
But like before then, it's like, okay, well, maybe people are doing it or whatever, but like that's why a lot of these old, especially horror movies, like guys like Tom Savini, like these makeup guys are so respected and beloved by horror junkies because they created things with like
Tangible
paint and
things.
goop and glop and whatever.
Yes.
And they just did it. So like what you're seeing. And now when people like, there's still people doing it, but mostly it's just computer stuff, which is it's still like great. Like I don't mind it, but like it feels and it looks different, and like the shot, that's the shot.
It feels different to your
whatever.
brain. That's
Yeah.
the thing that it is. Like we talked about this at like There's that concept that like when CGI, because it becomes so close to like reality, your brain can tell it apart from reality very quickly. In this, you're like, oh yeah, this is like modeling clay and makeup and like things like that, and that feels really cool to me, and I miss that part of filmmaking.
So this movie, so he is married to Sharon Stone, and it's the year 2084, and he wakes up having a dream, like kind of a nightmare, of him on Mars with this brunette woman. She's like, don't think about Mars. Mars is a shit show. Like, you look at the governor of Mars, like, Mars is like overrun. Like, you don't want to go Mars. Let's go anywhere. Let's go to Saturn. Let's take a space cruise. Let's go anywhere. He sees an ad for this place called Recall. And so he goes to Recall, and Recall basically offers virtual memories, but they
Yes.
also can create like actual souvenirs where you can pretend for like, 900 credits, whatever, say like $900 or whatever. Like, they can just put memories in your brain that like, oh, I was on Mars for 2 weeks. Cool. Like, I have all these memories. I have the shirt. Like, I was there, or whatever.
Yes.
He decides to do it as they put the thing in, or before they put the thing in. He freaks out and he kind of resurfaces all these other memories. And then this mysterious guy with a suitcase comes and he's just like, hey, you said if you ever disappear for me to find you, well, here's what you need. He finds out that he's this guy Hauser, so he's Doug Quaid to the world, but he also finds out that he's this guy Hauser who used to work for the guy Cohagen, the main, who's the governor of Mars, who has kind of privatized Mars. We find out he privatized Mars in a way that he privatized police in Detroit in RoboCop. Like, he's just like a bigwig, just like making money off people.
Corporations,
that's what he does, exactly.
are evil. Yeah, exactly.
And so Arnold finds out that his like past version of himself was working for Cohagen, but he had flipped sides because he realized what he was doing was wrong, and then he had his memory erased to protect himself. And so then the rest of the movie is him getting to Mars and sort of completing or fulfilling the mission. Once we get to Mars, that's where like this whole like kind of slummy sort of third world kind of like just like sex and prostitution and
The red
violence
light
and whatever.
district. It's the red
Yes.
light district. Yeah.
That's when he meets the woman of his, not metaphorically, but like literally the woman of his dreams.
True.
With this woman, Melina. They eventually, in the end, at least as the narrative goes, they sort of conquer Cohagen, they beat everybody, they react, or they launch the reactor to free Mars. Because the way he's done it is he has basically made Mars habitable, but he charges people to breathe the air. And so he sets a thing basically to destroy a bomb that's going to prevent people from breathing. It's going to slowly kill everybody.
Well, there's the reactor. He's
The
trying
reactor.
to blow up the
They
reactor.
activate the reactor to save Mars, and in the end, they basically terraform Mars by this reactor because like Mars is his ice core and whatever.
Yes.
And so in the end, it seems like a happily ever after that they saved the day. Mars is kind of like Earth now, and then you're led to believe, or you're led to wonder whether that was real or whether that was fake or whatever.
Yeah, it ends with the top still spinning, right? Like, you don't
Yes.
know. Exactly.
And maybe it wobbles a little bit, but
And she says, like, something about a dream, too. What's, like, the last line? Like,
kiss me before you wake up.
yes.
In the frame of the game that we play, Arnold is Letty because he's the one with the memory issues. But I was thinking
Yes.
there is this brunette, athletic, and then like sleazy. But I was like, it's so close to being Letty, like describing his dream woman.
Yeah.
And then we see Sharon Stone kind of as this like attractive blonde that I was like, that's kind of Elena.
It
And
is.
I was like, does that make
He's
Arnold
a large, muscly man.
Dom? Yeah, I'm like, that's weird. Like, he's not really Dom unless he's Bloodshot, because he's like, it's just like he's got to be our Letty. Like, the thesis is that he's our Letty, but it's also like, well, then Melina's our Letty, but she's not. Like, I don't know. Like, it's oh boy, it kind of broke my brain.
This felt very, very much that Arnold is Dom to me. Because, first of all, they look alike, right? They're just huge dudes. And Arnold being this big back then is incredible.
Have you seen the documentary Pumping Iron from like 1974?
No.
It's basically just about like the Muscle Beach culture, I think, like and like weightlifting
Yeah.
competitions, and like he's not the star of it, but like he's the star of it. Like he just kind of comes in, like he's just like, oh, okay, that's a guy, okay, yeah.
The thing is it felt very Fate to me.
Fate of the Furious.
They're trying to get Dom, but Dom doesn't know what side he's playing type situation. Like Quaid and Hauser, like which one is he? Which way is he leaning? So like that felt very Fate to me, and that's why it made me think of Dom. For sure.
Okay.
But you're right. I mean, like, with the memory loss thing, like, Dom doesn't have memory loss, but at the same time, like, 2 wives, and, like, what's going on, I'm with you. I can definitely see it being Dom, too.
We were talking, like, Nick wrote in, maybe last episode, I don't remember, maybe 2 episodes ago probably, about people waking up in bed. We have people, it's not a fast movie, but, like, they wake up in bed here, dreaming about Mars. I'm like, do we have any, I don't know we have dreams in the Fast and Furious, do we?
No. We have flashbacks, but never dreams. Like Dom, I think the closest we get to a dream is when Dom like he sees the skid marks and like flips in his head to where Letty was.
But we do have, for the second movie in a row, which is a thing that Verhoeven loves to do, he has like the news broadcast. And I was thinking, we did not talk about last episode about how at the beginning of 5 we have basically, I don't remember what his character name in Fast 5 is, but from Parks and Rec we have Perd Hapley doing the like live on the street, like this bus just flipped and I'm here and like I'm reporting on the things. So, like we have news broadcasts at least once in Fast and Furious, but we've had it 2 times in a row where it's just like they're watching the news, there's TV and whatever. But I do want to say that another thing in regards to Fast 5 with these last 2 movies, both of these movies have wild, especially this one, have wild disregard for civilian casualties. Like, there are people, like, when they're just like, we need to kill Arnold, we're going to spray and pray this machine gun into this crowd of people.
All the time.
Which, in that regard, might make it more of a dream, because it feels like even bad guys would be like, you can't do that, right? But, like,
no.
There are multiple scenes where just like, oh, no, we don't give a shit, or, like, I'm just going to destroy this
cab.
entire terror thing on the dome on Mars, because I don't care if people live, because I'm going to die, so everybody's going to die.
The first thing is when he comes through the security, and also like when he's in the cab and they're just like spraying into a crowd of people. I'm like, oh god, like I really thought, I was like, that's just very jarring. Like,
I mean, like, we're seeing the after effects of basically what we would witness in Fast 5, them dragging the safe through the streets of Rio. We just don't see the carnage, right? Like, it's kind of like, in Batman vs. Superman, we see them fighting, like, flying through the city. Or maybe it's Man of Steel, and then into Batman vs. Superman, you actually see the accountability after the fact. You're like, oh, right, no, there's people in those buildings, right? Like, it's not just Superman and Zod flying through, like, empty buildings. It's like, oh no, they're causing chaos. And so like we see this, we cut to them, Don Zucchero plays, but like Rio is in mourning. It's like hundreds of people have been displaced and like killed and maimed and whatever. And here it's just like, oh no, all I was doing was going to work. Or like he jumps on a train and he shoots through the window to jump into the train and they're just like spraying the train. It's like, man, like just let these dream people maybe go to work.
Let's not call them dream people. We don't know what the real truth is.
Hey man, that was your idea. You're the one who said that was a dream.
The truth is out there.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think that this is all just his implant.
This is also the first time in a memory movie that we've really talked about the process of like eternal sunshining, where they're like, just wipe his memory, like wipe all thoughts of Recall. Like in Eternal Sunshine, where they're like, okay, like they send the letters to everybody, right? They're like, if they ask about this, you don't know anything, like you don't know this person, whatever, right? Yeah. They wipe his brain, they send him on his way, he wakes up in the back of the Johnny cab, he gets out, and literally the first person he sees is like, hey, so how was Recall? It's like, well, dude, you fucked up. You have one job. I mean, I know that like it's not how this is meant to go, like they didn't write the guy a letter, but I'm just thinking like in terms of comparing this to Eternal Sunshine, like it is like worst case scenario.
Yeah, you'd be like, fuck, is that where I was? God damn it. On you bringing that up, how cool was it that he gets the note from the safety deposit box, right? Mm-hmm. And he writes it down again. How memento is that?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Because like he's testing if it's his own handwriting, right?
Exactly. So he was like, because memento, he's like, the only thing you could trust is your own handwriting, and like he has to write stuff out so that he knows that this is real.
That guy who does confront him though about Recall then attacks him, like he and his goons like attack him or whatever. Arnold karate chops a guy so hard in the head that his head splits open in this movie.
Yeah, that's a very Taken kind of move.
But I don't even know if Liam Neeson like karate chops a guy where a blood split. It's a combination of like strongman action movie, pulpy Verhoeven. It's just like, no, this is a perfect storm here.
We always talk about this at like when you watch Taken, that like Taken, nobody gets like shot in Taken. They all just get neck chopped by Liam Neeson. I mean, there was at one point great YouTube clips of just like all the neck chops from Taken, because he just like neck chops everyone. Nobody uses that in real life. Like, why is there no neck chops? That should be like the quicksand of physical violence in real life. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
should be way more prevalent. Yeah.
I thought there'd be a lot more neck chops in real life, like, like...
I was promised neck chops.
Yeah, like, 2 masked men went into a bank, neck chopped everyone. You'd be like, oh, fuck, well, yeah, neck chops.
I just feel like people probably aren't strong enough. Like, I feel like if you neck chopped me, I'd be like, ow! Like, it wouldn't, like, debilitate me. Like, what are you doing?
You hit them so hard that they're, like, that you cut off blood flow to the brain, and that they're, like, they pass out? Is that what
I guess it's like a pressure point thing, right?
Yeah, that's what it has to be. I think it would be much more simple. Like, everybody should learn how to neck chop. If somebody annoys you, you can just neck chop them. Like, that's like pretty harmless, right? Like, there's not like, like just neck chop them lightly and they just they fall very soft, and you're okay.
There was a kind of nefarious plot line in this movie that when applying it to the Fast and Furious, I was like, oh, because like we find out that like Sharon Stone, like he comes back, and he's like, people just tried to kill me, and he's like turning off light switches or whatever. He's like, get down, and he shows her hands. He shows her his hands, and they're covered in blood. I'm like, dude, you just touched like every surface in your house. Like, what? Like, is there blood everywhere?
Also,
now?
you rode like whatever you were just like. Was he in the subway? Right?
He gets attacked outside his apartment building.
Do you know how fast blood coagulates on your hands? Like his
Well,
hands.
this
were
is
still...
like wet. If this is just like, oh, look at me.
That's what I was saying. So I was like, that's very like that's not very safe at all. We stop with blood things.
That wasn't my point. I just had to point that out. But he then goes to the bathroom to wash his hands. Comes out. There's like an attacker in his apartment shooting at him. He finally overpowers them. Finds out that it's his wife, or who he thinks is his wife, Sharon Stone, with a gun. And she's like the only person in this movie who like kind of has the upper hand. Yeah, I guess he gets kind of grabbed and dragged by like 4 or 5 dudes a couple times. But it seems like she's the only one on
really
who can take him down.
Yeah.
I get narratively, but also like he's Arnold. Like, what do you? Come on. Okay. But anyway, she like finally confesses like, we're not actually married. You know, I was hired to play your wife. Like, all the memories you have of me are just 6 weeks old, whatever. We find out later that she's actually married to Michael Ironside, basically this movie's version of Red, right?
Yes.
I was thinking about how dark it would have been if, like, in between 4 and 6, when Letty is like in Braga and then Shaw's crew or whatever, she gets tied in with Shaw.
Yes.
If like he somehow, for some reason, I don't know the why, but he implanted all these fake memories that like Dom and Letty's marriage wasn't real. But I don't know why you would do that.
Or
but I was
just
just like,
wiped
that
them.
could be nefarious, like just injecting false memories into her brain.
Oh.
But
You're
then,
saying
like,
the other
she's
way.
like, then, but because, you know, she brings Dom back to life by saying, you know, we married and, like, you die, I die, whatever, and I'm not ready to die yet. I'm thinking, like, it'd be really weird and fucked up if, like, they were never actually married, that, like, for some reason Shaw incepts that idea into her head, like deep down, and then she kind of incepts it back into Dom's head when she like brings it back to life, and this whole like secret wedding just never happened. It was just like this whole like masterstroke from like Owen Shaw, but like I don't know why he would do that, but I was like, man, like that could happen.
That was a wild ride. Okay, so Shaw implants the
I
memory
don't
to
know
Letty.
the why of any of it. I just know the what and the how and the when. I don't know the why though.
Okay, Shaw implants the memory of Dom's wedding, but then tells her it didn't happen.
No. So
Wait, what were you trying to say? I don't know how we get there.
So in 4, Letty dies, quote unquote dies,
Yes.
right? And she has amnesia in the crash or whatever.
Yes.
So Shaw brings her into the crew.
I'm following.
In that time, he basically does a recall, kind of, where he puts these memories, even though she's like, I don't remember where I came from or whatever, for some reason he incepts way deep down this like false memory that she married Dom. And I don't know, maybe
Why?
he's putting other memories on. I don't know. That's why I don't know the
Okay,
why.
okay, you don't
But
know the why.
He's
Okay.
putting memories on top of it, like maybe like they had this wedding, but then like he broke her heart and like he wants to turn her against him or something, right? But then
Okay.
all those melt away, all those break away, those dissolve, but she's stuck with the memory of her marriage to Dom, which isn't real, which is just artificially created by Owen Shaw using technology that we have not seen in the Fastiverse, but also exists in the
Inception.
Fastiverse.
This is full.
Yes.
This is a full Inception.
Yes, it's a recall or it's an inception, exactly.
Okay.
Then in 6, I think it's in 6, or is it 7? No, it's in 6. In 6, when Dom
Yes.
almost dies, and she's like, I remember everything, Dominic Toretto, we married, whatever. She's remembering the false memory. It's not actually real, so what we hear, what she believes, and then what Dom wakes up to believe, like that's
Okay.
such a vivid memory for him, that she unknowingly recalls or incepts him too, but through her words. It could be all, I'm just thinking like false memories in this movie,
Okay.
could also be a false memory in the Fastiverse. To what end, I do not know. I'm just saying it could happen. Just keep your mind open.
That's a weird Inception, but I
know.
like it.
I know.
That was definitely a wild ride. Were you talking to Wells recently?
I mean, last night, but not about this.
Okay. Oof. That was a thought experiment for sure.
I thought this episode should be sponsored by Johnny Cab, which I still think the craziest thing about Johnny Cab is that, like, it's an AI, like, it's a self-driving car, but, like, it's operated by a joystick. So, like, Johnny Cab is, like, on a joystick, and he's, like, driving, he's, like, wiggling around, because
It's a robot. Yeah, it's a robot that operates a joystick instead of being a screen and a computer system, right? Like,
Yep.
that's very strange. I agree, but I like it. It makes it more
Because,
fun.
like, Arnold, like, breaks the Johnny Cab body off and then uses the joystick to, like, drive. But I was like, it feels, like, needlessly analog in this digital world. But,
Exactly.
Whatever. I also noticed that there is a rat in the warehouse when he goes to unpack the suitcase. So I was thinking of Too Fast. I was like, don't tell Lenny. And he's even like feeding the rat with like whatever he's got, right? He's
The
just like feeding the
chocolates,
rat
yeah.
scraps. Yeah.
The pulling the tracker out of his nose was so Matrixy, right?
Yeah, and there's also the red pill in this movie too, right?
Oh,
So that's
there
also
is a
Matrix-y.
red pill in this movie too. You're right, dude. Yes, you could take the red. Yeah. Oh God, I didn't even think about that.
And for the second movie in a row, and tying to the necklace, he's got a tracker like Cohagen, the guy, Ronnie Cox, knows where the guy is because he's being tracked, and that's when
Yeah.
he takes it out. Like he puts the wet towel around his head, then he takes out the tracker from his brain. So yeah,
I want to know how Arnold Schwarzenegger figured out how to tie such a perfect towel around his head.
like instantly.
It was lovely. Like he
I
had
know.
such good
Yeah.
technique. Yeah, he made like a full turban out of that towel. And I
Yeah.
want to know how you learn how to do that so quickly as like a guy that lived on Earth forever.
I want to express my condolences for the poor woman who was the actress in the body that Arnold is. So like Arnold to get to
Oh, I love
Mars
this part.
knows he's being
Yes.
hunted, so he dresses himself
Yeah.
as this like older woman, and he like the suit malfunctions, and he comes out, and he breaks through or whatever, right? But I'm like,
Yes.
whoever that actress is who goes up to the desk is an actual actress. It's like, look
a
at this
woman.
lady. Yeah, look at this lady who's like ugly enough and big enough to be like Arnold in a woman's suit. It's just like, well, that's unfortunate. Like that's a person.
Yeah. But she had a real role in this movie.
Had you seen the GIF? Because I think when the suit like comes around from his head and like he takes the head off, like that's a very iconic GIF. Have you seen that before or no?
I've seen that scene before, but not in GIF formatting.
Had you seen anything else from this movie before? Like, did you know like any lines? Because we didn't really talk about. But, like, was there anything that you were like, oh, I didn't know what that was? Like, did you know that this movie had the three-breasted woman or no?
Yes.
But
Yes,
did you know
I
it was
did.
from this movie or just knew that existed?
I knew it existed. I didn't know what movie it was from. There was something that I talked about on here that I was watching that was like, like Masters of Theater or something, and it was like
Okay.
about all of these sci-fi movies, and it had like a ton of clips from all of these, and it was
Gotcha.
like Blade Runner and Total Recall, and it was like interviewing like Spielberg, and like I forget what it was called, but I was watching it, and it was like a 4-part, 5-part series about like time travel in movies or like memory in movie, you know what I
Right.
mean, like
Yep.
all of these kind of things, and it just like focused on like all of these classic films. Even before that, I remember those things, but like very somewhat recently I've like seen like these kind of clips over and over again, right? So yeah, I've definitely seen them, but like I really thought that like Schwarzenegger was in RoboCop for sure. When we start, like when you were like we're doing Total Recall and RoboCop, I was like Schwarzenegger's in both probably, but definitely in RoboCop, not the other way around.
Because I think I think the big takeaways from this movie are the line "Get your ass to Mars," the suit that he takes off, like what we were
Yeah.
just talking about,
Yeah.
the three-breasted woman,
Yep.
the shot of him in the chair with like the prongs around his head. I think those are all the things I think have kind of been parodied or replicated or just sort of live beyond the movie. I think RoboCop probably might have more. Like I think RoboCop's probably a little bit more, to use Brian's word, iconic, but I think they're both like they both have their tentacles in a lot of different whatever.
Yeah, there's definitely pop culture permeations in this for sure. The thing that I saw as like a huge Fastnection was that they're running through the subway and fighting, and that reminded me so much of what we were talking about, which is like Gina Carano fighting Letty through the subway.
Yes, and actually there's trivia about that. So,
Tell me.
when filming that fight scene, Verhoeven asked the second unit AD, because generally, like in action scenes, like another director does that. Like they're not, because it's not always the lead actors. In this, it would be, but like there's not lines. It's just like stunt choreography. So like they have different people, whatever. So he asked the guy to choreograph the fight not as a quote cat fight, but more as a martial arts fight.
Okay.
To give the feel of two quote warriors fighting each other rather than just two women. He said that's probably the first time in a feature film when two women were fighting each other normally, as opposed to a cat fight. Because it's rare that you see two women like actually like instead of just like nails and hair pulling, like they're just like beating the shit out of each other, and that's exactly what I thought of too, like Letty and Gina Carano, because like it's rare to see in an otherwise like not in a movie about a female fighter, but just to have two women just fight. Like it was great. It was
Fight,
cool.
yeah, but like have like the physical know-withal to fight in a martial art kind of way, as opposed to just like cat fight, hair pulling. Yeah, I agree with that. That's very cool. I have a funny side tangent story.
Yep.
Okay, we get a shot when he goes back. They have the doctor there that's like the ejector doctor, right? He's like, look, like, we were just talking about the red pill. I'm here because I'm only here in case shit broke bad. This is your real life. This is your real wife. You need to, get out of here. So take the red pill. You'll wake up. Like, you're having a little bit of an episode. Like, it'll be okay. So when he's at that apartment, in the background, like of like that office or apartment or whatever, there's some Coca-Colas and there's another drink there that's very iconic.
Barks.
So I've been wasting some time lately on the asshole of the internet, 4chan.
Why?
Honestly, I'm trying to get like the pulse of like what's going on, like what people were reacting to.
Boy,
I like 4chan. Like,
I don't think you should say that out loud because I think that is like very. I mean, like calling it the asshole of the internet is like kind of underselling what it is. But go on.
It's bad. I enjoy just like getting the pulse of like what's going on from 4chan sometimes. I saw a post recently that was, hey, is like anybody else drinking anything tonight? I'm enjoying a great Bangs root beer. They had a picture of the Barks can on it, right? If you look at it, like the way the script is written, if you weren't reading Roman characters, you could interpret that to read Bangs.
I'm looking. I guess. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah.
Right?
Not if you've ever written in if you never learned cursive. Maybe.
Exactly. If you never learned cursive in English, it was just like a troll thread that called Barks Bangs, and then everybody was like, wait, you don't drink Bangs? And then it's like a bunch of people were like, it's Barks, you idiots.
Why would there ever be a soda called Bangs?
That's the whole point.
What is kind of cool about this soda, though, is that on Earth, there's Coca-Cola, but on Mars, there's only Pepsi.
Oh, that's right. It was Pepsi. It wasn't...
I don't know why, like whether Coca-Cola just gets Earth and Pepsi gets Mars or whatever, but like there's a clear delineation there for some reason. I didn't catch that. Commenting on that or whatever. I don't know.
That's really awesome, though. Yeah, Pepsi's like, look, Coke, you can have Earth, but we get Mars and Saturn. And they're like, okay, cool.
We have a taxi car chase and shootout, and they go back to, like, actually, considering, last episode we talked about playing the Fast and Furious Crossroads game, and talking about how, like, you just keep going back to the same house at the beginning. It seems like they keep going back to the last resort here, just like, let's go to the last resort. And, like, even Johnny Cab is like, you guys are going in circles.
Yep.
But I like that there is a car chase there. We also have the car chase later with the other, or no, maybe it's not the Johnny Cab. This is the actual cab driver we learn later is a bad guy.
Yep.
But then he's also driving that, like, drilling vehicle, which I was like, that's a new one. This is not a Fast movie, but, like, when we were covering all the different kinds of vehicles...
Yeah, we've never drilled holes in the Fastiverse, have we?
Maybe in ice, possibly? Like, there's ice breakers and stuff like that.
No,
but, like,
that was a submarine. There was an ice submarine.
But yeah, no holes, I don't think.
And we have the tunnels in Mexico, so we should have a drilling machine. But yeah, you're right. Yeah. We've never seen drilling equipment.
And I did feel very kind of betrayed. Like, I knew it was coming, but because I saw this like 2 years ago, whatever. But like when Benny, the taxi driver, turns heel, I was like, it kind of got flashbacks of like Riley in Fast and Furious 6, like Gina Carano, like, oh, you're working for him? Like, I thought you were one of the good guys, right? But like, no.
Yeah, you're a mutant and you have 4 kids to feed. I didn't see that coming at all. Like, I did not expect it to be the taxi cab driver.
So we've talked about how Arnold is kind of Letty. He's kind of Dom. He's also kind of like Hobbs in that he's just too strong for like mortal men. Where he
yes.
Where just like how Hobbs flexes out of the cast, here Arnold like multiple times just like I can't be contained or can't be bound by your like earthly machines or whatever, your Martian machines. So he's just like busting out of things, just like like how do you expect to stop him?
I have no idea. It plays well too because Arnold. The thing that I like about this movie that kind of gets lost in the Fast and Furious a little bit is that when you bring in The Rock and he's huge, and then Vin gets bigger to match The Rock. Yep. You have 2 huge men, and then you have Idris Elba, who's also a really ripped guy. In this movie, Arnold's the only one that's massive, right? Yep. So he is the imposing figure, and there's only one of them. So you know that he has this ability. When you start adding all of these other guys that are also ripped and jacked and huge, it's like, who's the most ripped, jacked, huge one? And you kind of get lost in it.
Yeah, this is more of a normal movie where there's only one guy who defies all
exactly physical boundaries.
Right? Yeah. I think that's all the Fastnections I have. I have some more trivia, but is there anything else you caught here? Any comparisons to either other movies we've watched like this lap or the Fastiverse in general?
The last thing I have to say is there's a movie that I've referenced a million times in here. When he has the hologram watch and he goes in and he like sends the hologram in. We were watching it and I was like, oh, I knew exactly what was happening, right? Because like you see the hologram watch earlier and I'm like, this is gonna be a thing later. Like he goes in, he gets shot, and Rachel's like, what the hell just happened? And I was like, oh, come on, like you didn't catch that this is what's happening. So he has the hologram watch, but it gave me really, really deep Enter the Dragon vibes when Bruce Lee has the claw and they're in the room full of mirrors. Like, it's not a Fastnection, but that's what I was thinking when I was watching that part. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And also, we should do more Bruce Lee movies on this podcast.
Well, I mean, we have maybe a lap that could theme it, sort of, possibly, maybe coming up.
Possibly.
I will also say, like, I like how the movie turns that on its head and is basically like they use the mirror or like the hologram twice, right? He uses it and then she uses it, and then like he laughs again the same way, and they're like, "Is this the real?" And it's like, "Do you think this is the real me?" It is, and he shoots him again. Like it's a very cool reversal on the reversal, or just like I don't know whether to believe. At that point, you should just shoot it every time. Like why are you not shooting? You know what I mean? But
exactly, wasting bullets, saving ammo, maybe.
Like there was a point where, but you just shoot him like once. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, but there was a point where like they're being chased as they're escaping. I think they're maybe their first escaping, like after they're running away. Like they maybe the guys like when Michael Ironside and everybody converges on the last resort, and they're running out the back, and there's that guy who's like like almost about to shoot them as they're climbing down the ladder, and like he doesn't. I'm like, what? Like that seems weird. Like is he like turning, and then like Michael Ironside shows up. The guy's like, no, don't shoot. You're gonna destroy the dome. We're all gonna die. It's like, okay, that makes sense. But like it was a weird hesitation I felt. Where it's like, why are you not trying to shoot them? Oh, because if you shoot and you miss, the glass, we've seen multiple times here, all the air, like the vacuum happens and like everybody dies. So
no, that was like super apparent to me. I was thinking this the whole time. Whenever he shot and missed, I was like, oh fuck, he's the only guy that realizes as a scientist when he shoots through the glass, he's gonna blow the fucking side out again and like suck everybody out into the vacuum. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. For a second, I thought maybe he was turning good and like he was gonna be like a double, like a double turn, like he was the heel that became good and was like, no, they're doing the right thing. But then I was like, oh no, there's like all glass behind them. If he shoots through this, they're done.
So some trivia. So the guys who wrote this or first worked on the screenplay, Ron Shusett and Dan O'Bannon, they started work on this in the 70s, but they realized it was going to be too expensive or difficult to make, so they put it aside, started working on another movie about a space monster terrorizing a spaceship crew, which would then become Alien. So like, they're like, hey, let's make this Total Recall movie. It doesn't, because it's based on a Philip K. Dick short story.
Yes.
Like one of the most prolific science fiction writers of all time.
Yep.
So they were adapting it, and they're like, well, we can't do this. Like, let's just work on this other thing. And the other thing just becomes like the most famous and probably most beloved like horror sci-fi genre mashup thing of all time, right? So like, not a bad plan B, kind of.
No,
when they
definitely
came
not.
back and did this.
That's awesome.
So Arnold was so impressed by the dedication Sharon Stone had in training, that he referred to her as, quote, the female Terminator, and she was later inducted into the Stunt Woman Association as an honorary member. So we talked last episode, I guess. Last episode about Michelle Rodriguez's upcoming documentary, Stunt Woman, and so, again, kind of related there. Like, she's not a stunt woman, she's an actor.
Like, she did all these fight scenes. They're great, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, she deserves commendation for that, for sure.
So just like RoboCop, the original cut was given an X rating, mostly for just too much violence. And the scenes where they had to really dial it back were the escalator shootout, which we talked about before. And then at the end, Benny's death, the cab driver, when he's in that like drilling, digging unit. And Arnold, basically, his kill line is "screw you," as he's got like the drill that goes through. Like,
so
apparently
good.
he was like totally eviscerated and like deboweled, and like you saw all that. Unlike RoboCop, there's no director's cut for this. Like, there's just, I think, one version that's out there.
Yeah.
So I guess that X-rated cut disappeared, but there was an even more violent version of this movie, as I'm sure you can imagine.
I would like to have seen it. This was fun, but it definitely felt toned down compared to RoboCop.
So it's never mentioned in the movie. It was on the VHS. I said this before, I think, but the movie takes place in the year 2084, and Verhoeven was like, I want something like kind of far in the future, because he thought that Blade Runner, which came out a couple years before, I think Blade Runner was, 82? It was set in 2019. He's like, that doesn't feel far enough away. Like, it feels too modern, too soon to really actually be the world. Because, like, we passed 2019 last year, and, like, we don't look like Blade Runner, right? So
No, definitely not.
And I think, when Blade Runner 2049 comes out, I think it's like a continuation. Like, that's not what 2049 is going to look like, but it's what 2049 is going to look like if 2019 looked like it did, right? So
yeah, we're going to be like the original Blade Runner, and then Blade Runner 2049 is going to be the difference between the two that
Right.
far ahead.
Like, I don't know that we're going to terraform Mars by 2084, but it makes more sense to be like, no, let's just like kick this way down the road. Like it's not hundreds of years down the road, but like, like 100 years out, and just,
It's fair. I like it a lot.
So I don't know what we're going to watch next, but apparently Arnold hated the original trailer for this movie. He said it didn't convey the weirdness, and it wasn't good. So he made the producers recut a trailer, and it worked better. And also, coupling with that, apparently, like 3 weeks before the movie came out, like less than half of people polled knew about the movie. Like they didn't even know it existed. Like this new Arnold movie, whatever. Like Arnold by this point had already been in Terminator. Like he's already like a household name, right? And
Okay.
nobody really knew. Like 43% knew. So like he again like basically lit a fire under marketers' asses or something. And by the time the film opened 3 weeks later, apparently 99% of people polled knew Total Recall was coming out. So like he apparently took this under his arm, under his wing, whatever, and was just like, no, this is a good movie.
His lats.
You need to
He took
his
it under
lats.
his lats. Yeah.
You need to like make sure that people know about this.
It's a damn good movie. It's an Arnold movie that I didn't expect to be so deep, right? So like, yeah, good on him for like seeing the potential of this movie and being like, yeah, people should fucking watch this. It's great.
There was a plan for a sequel to this movie that never happened, but eventually became Minority Report, which we covered over on Cruise Club.
Ah.
So it's also based on a Philip K. Dick story. I don't know exactly how that. I mean, they're both about kind of time-ish. Minority Report, predicting and preventing future crimes, and it's not exactly this, but I can kind of see it adjacent, right? Like kind of weird brain stuff, sort of.
Yeah. And Philip K. Dick was writing a ton of shit, dude. Like a ton. So.
Yep. And then one of the best lines in the movie we did not talk about. When he kills Sharon Stone, and he says, "Consider that a divorce." Apparently, the original line was, "Consider this a divorce," but they thought that was too cold-blooded. So I don't know. I
What?
genuinely don't know what the difference between like that and this are. But like the original version was, "Consider this a divorce." But it changed because the writers thought it was, quote, a bit too cold-blooded. But, like, it's the same meaning. It's the same context.
It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing.
But that's all the trivia. There's more. I mean, I think there's not as much as there was for RoboCop, but I culled this down a lot. But there's even more if you want to check it out. Of course, I get everything from IMDb's trivia, so there's even more about this. And there's the reboot or the remake or whatever, 2012, which I have not seen. But Len Wiseman of the Underworld franchise directed this with, I guess, probably Colin Farrell in the Arnold role and Jessica Biel probably in the Melina role, I guess. I don't know who played the Sharon Stone role, though.
Ugh.
Oh, Kate Beckinsale, of course it is, because she was married to Len Wiseman, so
That
of course
makes
he cast
sense.
her.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Oh, weird. So, in a Breaking Bad connection, Cohagen, played by Bryan Cranston.
Oh,
The
really?
main bad guy, Bryan Cranston. Yeah, man.
Oh, that's a weird connection because we just had Hank in this one. It's very strange. Okay,
See
cool.
if I recognize anybody else. I don't think that I do. But yeah, people not thrilled. So T. Culture Vulture, who we did last episode, the RoboCop, he gave it 2 stars. Said the first half isn't horrible and it's different enough from the original that it made you want to go back and watch Arnold's version. But then the second half is the most generic sci-fi action dog shit, and it couldn't hold my interest at all. So
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
not worth watching. I mean, just watch the original.
Yeah, why?
Let's watch the trailer. Again, I don't know if this is the trailer that Arnold likes or the trailer that Arnold does not like, but if you search Total Recall trailer, this is from
Well, let's
the
see how
Al
weird it is.
Pacino 921 Total Recall trailer 1990.
A. Al Pacino? Is that what you said?
The Al Pacino.
Like the actual Al Pacino or just a guy named... Oh, no, it's the Al Pacino 921. Okay, cool.
Al Pacino's not on YouTube like uploading movie trailers. Maybe he is.
I thought that maybe he had like a social media team that might have been, but who knows?
All right, 3, 2, 1, play. 2 minutes and 40 seconds.
Carl Loco.
Your mind. It is the center of your life.
This is
Mind is the center of your
weird.
life.
It is everything you hear,
And this must have been the one he liked.
everything
You think?
see,
Everything you hear, everything you see.
everything you feel.
Ah, it's weird.
It is everything you are.
This is kind of weird.
How
This is a very slow build-up. This is making it kind of look
if
Kubrick-y.
someone stole
You're
Like
right.
2001-ish.
Ah, okay.
Arrest that woman!
No, this is the one that Arnold likes for sure.
Yeah, because if you're leading off with the like him coming out of the woman costume, like
Yeah.
probably.
Wait.
Cut.
Get ready for a surprise!
Yep, there you go. Explosion.
We can't let him run around. He knows too much. They've got you bugged.
Yeah, this is all right. All right. I feel like
The bug's in your skull.
I don't know
Okay.
if this really tells you what it's about. I mean, it kind of does.
Not really.
It's just kind of a weird
Don't
thing.
worry, it's
Oh, I was
self-driving.
thinking, in the era of COVID, that like people talking about how like the nasal swabs are like incredibly uncomfortable or painful or whatever.
I was going to
like,
ask you about this, yeah, because I took one. You didn't take one, right?
No.
Yeah. It's not
Apparently they've gotten better though. Like I've heard people talk about them, and like the newer ones are like you don't have to go as far up the nose. There he is, Asac Schrader himself.
Look who's talking.
Yeah, but those ones they're not as accurate.
Well, yeah.
Sharon Stone?
I feel like this spoils a lot.
I don't think it does. It's too fast.
I mean,
you wouldn't
know
remember
that
it.
like Sharon Stone's like karate kicking Arnold,
That's fair, yeah.
and then it's not like deep into the movie. That's like probably 40.
But you didn't really
45
recognize her. Like, it just happened very quickly. I don't think that my brain would have like been like, oh, Sharon Stone's attacking him. That would have been like blonde girls fighting him.
Quaid delivered a lie for reimplantation.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's for making me come to Mars.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that ruined
What's
it.
also weird about like these like kind of I don't want to call them third-party YouTube accounts, but like
Consider that a divorce.
yeah, like I don't. This might be like a fan-made trailer because like when I searched like the
Because it had like the weird beginning and said like Schwarzenegger on it.
yeah, but they could have copied that part from I don't know.
We hope you enjoyed the ride.
Thanks, Johnny Cap.
That's probably the trailer that he recommissioned for sure.
Okay.
I think so. Because that one was rowdy.
I guess if you're fighting an uphill battle, like people need to know about the movie.
Yeah.
Go all out. On Letterboxd, the most popular movie, the one we use for our threshold, Mad Max Fury Road, has been seen by 613,000 people. Total Recall, 1990, directed by Paul Verhoeven, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Rachel Ticotin, Sharon Stone, and Ronnie Cox, has been seen by how many people?
65,000.
We need to go way higher.
Really? 102,000.
Still need to go higher.
125,000.
134,082.
Wow.
People love Verhoeven. People love Arnold. People love this movie.
Yeah, that's
now,
true. It's a
Out of
ton.
those 134,000 people, average rating of 3.7, most common of 4, then a 3.5, then a 3. How many people have it in their top 4 of all time? RoboCop, I think, was like 1,500 or something.
Yeah, I'm going to say like... Oh, this is tough. 3,200.
Way lower. Way lower.
Really?
Like, RoboCop is beloved. This movie is just, like, really liked.
Okay. 650?
Still need to go lower.
425.
273. So still a lot, but again,
way
not at all
lower than
what
I
you were
thought.
thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that this movie would be like up there. Like this is like The Matrix. This is fucking Schwarzenegger, Verhoeven. Like I thought we would get like.
Nope. So I found David Snyder on Letterboxd at Empire or Jedi. Watched this year. Said, hold on. So you're telling me those breasts were fake? 5 stars.
That's a really great review of that. I like that a lot.
So now David Snyder, his top 4, his number 1 favorite movie of all time, according to this, is Total Recall. But numbers 2, 3, and 4, 2 and 3 are 2 of the biggest movies of all time. One of which I just referenced.
The Matrix.
No. Like, just referenced.
RoboCop.
No, like, just referenced. Like, in his handle.
Oh, Star Wars something.
Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Number 3, so that's his number 2. Number 3 is one of the most famous movies. Okay, here's a hint. Here's a little bit of history. It's often considered to be the first blockbuster.
The first blockbuster?
Mm-hmm.
Jaws?
Jaws, yep. Number 3.
Oh! Do you see me grab that? Just out of the air? Oh, thank you.
I think that's kind of common knowledge. I wouldn't say that's like I'm proud of you, but I don't think it's not like a real Kobe. It's just like, oh yeah, people like Jaws basically invented the summer blockbuster.
I said I grabbed it out of the air.
And then number 4 is I don't know how to describe this. So it's a modern movie in the last like 10 years.
Okay.
It's from a director whose many of his movies are very, very similar in style.
Okay.
But they're all beloved by people. Does not seem to fit at all. I mean, it's critically acclaimed like the other 3, but the other 3 are all kind of action movies. And this, while it has kind of like scenes of action adventure, I would say maybe, it's not at all an action movie. So it's not like a Tarantino movie. I'm not saying it's Tarantino. Kind of like how Tarantino's movies all feel and look like a Tarantino movie, this is a movie by a director whose movies all feel and look like exactly what he does.
Okay, but recent.
Yes. Mm-hmm. This movie came out in like 2014, I want to say. And this guy had another movie that was due out this year that got postponed, I think, to the pandemic. I don't know when it's coming out. Either maybe later this year, more likely probably next year. He's probably made about 8 or 9 movies.
Okay. Is it James Cameron?
No.
Who's the guy making Tenet?
Christopher Nolan.
Is it him?
Nope. This is one
ahead.
of Kyle and Brian's favorite directors.
That doesn't help, but sure.
I mean, if you listen to their podcast, you would know.
I
If you
don't.
did your homework,
I don't listen to any podcasts besides this one. Recent movie, director, all kind of the same vein.
auteur, yep. It stars Ray Fiennes.
Who's
Saoirse
that?
Ronan is in it. Jude Law is in it.
I don't know. Lady Bird?
Nope. I would imagine you've seen some of this guy's movies, and I would imagine you love this guy's movies, but I don't know. I also, if you said you'd never seen any of his movies, I wouldn't be
Surprised.
entirely surprised. I think I would bet, like, I would say 80% yes, you have, and you like this guy, but I also would be like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense that he would never seen any of these movies.
No, Saoirse? What was Saoirse in recently? Besides
It was
Lady
maybe her
Bird?
like breakthrough role, I think. Maybe. I don't know if that's definitive, but like she has like it was the first time she had like a really big role in a movie where it's like, oh, okay, I don't know who this lady is, but I like her.
I don't know. What is it? Tell me.
The Grand Budapest Hotel.
Oh, Wes Anderson?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they all are the same. You're fucking right. Good. Saoirse was in Grand Budapest?
Yeah, she's like the main guy's girlfriend. She's Zero's girlfriend. She's got like the
I totally don't remember it being
face,
Saoirse.
like Mexico is like on her face, like a birthmark on her face or whatever. I think it's Mexico.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
Saoirse,
totally
dude.
don't remember that being Saoirse at all. I love Wes Anderson. I'm a huge... Come on, I love Rushmore.
That's what I thought. But like, I gave you all the clues, Mr. Police.
I know, but you were like, I would be surprised if you haven't seen any of his movies. Like, come on, we watched Moonrise Kingdom together.
I thought so, but I also I couldn't remember. Like I was gonna say that I thought we had picked some for film club, but like I didn't remember definitively. It's the kind of person who's like, oh, I wouldn't like that's just not my thing. Like I can see, you know what I mean? Not you, but like just like, oh, they're all
people-
they're too tweet for me. So
I can agree that I'm sure that he has. Nobody's like Wes Anderson. Like you're either like I love Wes Anderson or like that's
Yep.
not for me. Yeah.
yep. So that's it. So the top four were
Wow.
Total Recall, The Empire Strikes Back, Jaws, and The Grand Budapest Hotel. Thank you,
Yeah.
David Snyder, for unknowingly playing along.
Yeah, I know. Grand Budapest. Damn, I forgot Saoirse was in that. Jesus.
She's even the picture on Letterboxd. If you click, it's her and Zero. Not that she's like probably 10th build. Like it's all ensemble, right? So.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so Joe, next week we've got two more movies, of course. We've got a return to the main franchise with Fast and Furious with Nico and Kevo. We are skipping Tokyo Drift, hoping that we are able to preserve the surprise, preserve the spoiler, preserve
Hopefully.
the reveal.
Fingers crossed.
Right? I don't think it's going to happen. I think that they are too pop culture literate in a way. Not that Carol wasn't, but I think that they just like to read about things. Like they just like what they're in, like what they're invested in. Like now they're invested in Fast and Furious. I just think that they would have picked up on it somewhere. I think, but
Yeah, I don't know.
so we're saving that.
Hopefully
We're
not.
skipping that. But Fast and Furious number 4, as we've done the last couple of laps, we're doing that next time on Tuesday. Then on Friday, we had one that slotted in
What is
late
it?
in the game. This is the one I don't remember if Adam recommended or one of your friends recommended. We're doing Catherine Bigelow's Strange Days.
Interesting.
It was one of your friends who said that. I think it might have
It's
been
probably
Aiden,
Aiden.
but I don't know.
It was probably Aiden because I was like talking about the movies that we were doing memory loss. Because Aiden always gets very excited. He sees that we are watching movies that he likes.
I have not seen that one. I think it's the first movie this lap that I have not seen. I'm looking forward to it. I was telling you this morning as I was paused in between in the movie as I was picking up lunch that I was like, while I love having like classic car movies as a theme and like just being able to like watch all these classic things like
Same.
within the like, but it's all to a certain extent the same movie, right? Like it's not always the same movie. Like there's some variations and like especially when we accidentally picked one that's not really a car movie or whatever,
Yeah.
right? But like
True.
for the most part, like a lot of them are just like dude driving a cool car and like kind of action stuff, right?
Yep.
But like here, while we have mostly covered action movies so far, the idea of memory loss and of amnesia and of all this could span so much, and knowing what we have coming, I don't know what Strange Days is about, but I just feel like it's a nice mix-up, refresher, whatever, to be like, oh, we got a whole open playfield, open ball field, open whatever, new ball game.
There's
something.
so much
I don't know.
space. There's so much room for activities here.
Is that a Step Brothers quote?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Good job for catching it, brother. I'm proud
Thank
of you.
Thank you. Any other thoughts about Total Recall as we officially wrap up Paul Verhoeven week? We gotta figure out a way to do like Basic Instinct and Showgirls. I don't know what kind of lap that would be. Like I guess
Basic
Don't know.
Instinct could be like Sniff Sniff Skank Slap.
there was a movie. What was the movie? I was trying to think of a movie. How do we work it in? And I like had something like that was like that tenuous. I was just like, I don't know if that could fit, but like yeah, maybe. Any other thoughts about Total Recall or RoboCop or Verhoeven or anything?
I like Michael Douglas. That was it. I wish we could watch Basic Instinct like immediately.
I mean, Ken.
I have. I know. I have. And I
No,
watched
go
it
watch
again.
Starship Troopers.
I know.
It's great. It's a great movie.
I know. I agree. I'm just saying. It's Sunday night. We're gonna get a new fucking 90 day tonight, very soon, and I have to catch up on my 90 days. There's like there's a new episode of 90 Day for every spinoff for like the next 4 days.
For all things Too Fast, Too Forever, you go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFastTooForever, or at TooFastTooForever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page. Join up. Pick us movies for both this lap and our next 3 laps at TooFastTooForever.com. Get access to the quiz, Fast and Furious Minute document. We are still, like, every time we talk about the minute in an episode, we are detailing that minute in a document. So you have access to all that for free. Not for free, but no additional charge at TooFastTooForever.com. Come back next week for Fast and Furious number 4 with Nico and Kevo, and for Strange Days. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too.
And we'll see you next time right here on Too Fast, Too Forever. Peace out.
You ain't it.